Russia is waging a war on social media. It has sued America's big tech giants, the big three. It is threatening to ban Twitter. Now, this is a bit unusual for Russia. The Kremlin has mostly taken a hands-off approach to social media. After all, its massive propaganda campaigns are based around it. So what has changed now? The story begins with the arrest and sentencing of Alexei Navalny, the Kremlin critic who was poisoned last year. It triggered a wave of protests in major Russian cities. Early on, the security forces were overwhelmed, but they soon struck back. There was a crackdown. A large part of this mobilization was done on social media. Twitter hashtags and Facebook groups were used to organize protests, to decide where to gather, what posters to bring, and things like that. It was a powerful tool in the hands of the protesters. But Russia says this tool is being misused. Local media is reporting that a few social media posts encouraged children to join the public protest. We cannot verify these reports, but one thing is clear. Inflammatory posts may have been the immediate trigger, but Russia was always mulling a social media crackdown. The first indication came from President Putin himself. He said the internet must respect not only formal laws, but also moral ones. Listen in.
We had discussions about certain restrictions on the internet. The internet has already penetrated into all spheres of our lives. It must obey not just the laws of formal, legal rules, but also the moral laws of the society in which we live. Otherwise, this society will collapse from the inside. And online, we unfortunately encounter not only calls to take to the streets for unauthorized street actions.
Twitter, Google, Facebook each have 3 cases against them. The violations carry a fine of up to $54,000, negligible for these companies. But this isn't about the money. It's about sending a message. Even before the companies had time to respond, Russia fired its next salvo. It slowed down Twitter. The operating speed was curbed in 100% of all mobile devices and 50% of all non-mobile devices. This time, the internet regulator gave a different reason. Twitter was reportedly ignoring Russia's requests to delete what it calls objectionable content. This includes child pornography, graphic details of drug abuse, and abetment to suicide. There were 3,000 such posts. Repeated requests to remove them were ignored by Twitter. This is what Russia says. Twitter has not responded yet. Moscow wants Twitter to get its act together and fast. Otherwise, it is threatening to ban the platform entirely. Russians are used to policing on the streets, but digital policing is new to some of them. These people, some of them at least, are worried. What they fear is a China-style crackdown on the internet. The Kremlin has assured that this is not the case. The battle between the state and social media is not new to Russia, not new to the world. Russia, in fact, is late to the party, but its intentions count. Blocking inflammatory content is justified. Using it as a cover for suppressing dissent is not. That has always been the debate. It's a double-edged sword. Similar Russian efforts in the past have ended in failure. In 2018, Moscow tried to ban Telegram. No luck there. 1 year later, the ban was lifted. The recent push to curb social media has been more successful. In December, the Russian parliament backed a new set of laws. It called for big fines on social media platforms. Officials are also demanding so-called digital sovereignty, mostly along the lines of what President Putin said. Russia's war on social media is a sign of the changing times. Until a few years ago, containing dissent was about boots on the ground. Russia has more than enough of that, but dissent has now gone digital. Narratives and stories decide the outcome of struggles, and the Kremlin wants to decide which stories to hear. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.